We are live.
We are live. Well, welcome everybody. Week 12, your favorite start sit show all across the land. Today, it's myself, Jeff Kezar, and Davey Cruz here. Our other compadres are out, like many players today. So we'll get all your answers, all your questions answered, and get you rolling for your week 12. Davey, anything that stands out to you so far this week?
Well, other than what I posted below, Aaron Rodgers and Josh Jacobs are both out. Can hardly wait for the Philadelphia Dallas game. That should be a good one. I'm having I'm taking some of my afternoon picks down to the wire because there's some news in some of these games, like in the Jacksonville Arizona game. Is Brenton Strange going to be able to get on the field? He's still questionable. So we've got some good stuff to talk about today. Hopefully we will have a lot of people show up and ask us some questions.
Absolutely. I'm fascinated by how many backup quarterbacks we got today. Mason Rudolph, Pittsburgh, Kirk Cousins in Atlanta with the news of Penix being out for the year. Joe Flacco still for the Bengals starting with Burrow imminent return. We'll see how that looks. The Jets benched not Garrett Wilson, Justin Fields, our favorite by Mr. Styles, for Tyrod Taylor today. Giants have Jameis going. Shedeur Sanders.
Baby.
Yeah, get that dub. And then for the Browns, Shedeur Sanders makes his first start. It wasn't ideal last week for him, but I'm kind of intrigued by his start against the Raiders today. And then lastly, we still have Jacoby Brissett, I think our favorite backup quarterback. And then how could I forget? For the Texans had Davis Mills. So very interesting right now, week 12 with all the injuries and quarterbacks, everybody in super flex leagues. People are scrambling right now, I bet. So it'll be a good day. I'm excited. So let's start off with our first question today from, how do you pronounce that? Hiram Gator Jr. Welcome.
Hiram Gatto Jr.
Gotta love it. So first question today, speaking of quarterbacks, here we go. We start off hot here. Cousins, McCarthy, or Winston? And second question, we got running backs, Warren, Gainwell, Charbonnet, and Algier, PPR. What you got for this one?
Well, for the first question for Hiram's, I'm going to go with Jameis Winston. I just not real crazy about Cousins. He hasn't really shown much of anything since he's been in Atlanta. I mean, it got so bad last year that he was benched, and the only reason he's out on the field now is because Michael Penix is hurt. So it's kind of an iffy proposition starting him. I suppose he could smash against New Orleans, but New Orleans doesn't have a bad defense. And McCarthy is just not showing me anything. He shows flashes every now and then, but he looks like he's still cooking. So he's probably not ready to go yet. So give me Jameis. Let me take a shot on Jameis. I know it's a game against the Lions in Detroit, but I actually think that plays into their hands. They've been competitive in most games, and if you're going to attack the Lions, you're going to attack the Lions through the air. They might have a tough time running the ball today because Detroit's number one against fantasy running backs in PPR points per game. So I'll take Winston there. Warren, Gainwell, Charbonnet, or Algier. I'm going to go with Warren. He's going to be good to go today. They're playing against the Bears, who are one of the worst defenses against running backs in PPR. Well, actually, they're middle of the pack now. So they've been getting better, but I'm still going with Warren over Gainwell. The only one I would kind of lean to instead of Warren would be Charbonnet against the Titans, but I think I'm still going to stick with Warren. Sharps could have a good day against Tennessee. It's a pretty good matchup, but you've got Kenny Walker there. He's probably going to be good to go. And, who knows? They may decide to come out and just knock the Titans off their game with an air attack like they did in DC against the Commanders. So Algier is kind of like a touchdown or bust type of guy. If you think he's going to score a touchdown or two, throw him in there. But I'm going to go with Warren against the Bears.
Yeah, for the quarterback for the first part, it's an interesting dilemma. At the beginning of the season, I probably would have said McCarthy, but like you said, he just really hasn't shown anything. And kind of disappointed I took him in Dynasty. So I do like him, but in this case, I do like Jameis Winston this week against the Lions. The Lions are good defensive, like you said, against the run, but against the quarterback, there can be points there. And Jameis is just electric. Oddly enough, last week he didn't throw for a passing touchdown, but he ran for one, which was fun to see. But yeah, the Lions, middle of the pack against quarterbacks, and they're going to have to air it out against Detroit. So from a fantasy perspective, I will be taking Jameis this week. And then for the running back, a good point about Charbonnet. They got a good matchup this week against Tennessee, but Kenny Walker did show last week, despite, that timeshare, he's still the guy to own in the backfield right now. And Warren is the guy. He said, in post game that he would have gone back out, but they were erring on the side of caution. He has no injury designation this week, so I'm feeling pretty confident about Jaylen Warren this week as well, especially in the PPR matchup. But we say that, and now Gainwell will get all the touches because that's Arthur Smith for you.
Well, the NFL does like to prove us wrong.
They sure do.
Yeah. If it was easy, though, we wouldn't be here.
Exactly. All right, and then we'll go to our next question from Mr. Jeff Marks. Welcome back. Good morning to you as well. Needs a pick 2, full PPR, Kareem Hunt, Tyrone Tracy, Ken Walker, Ricky Pearsall, or Emmanuel Wilson. If Jacobs doesn't play, which he's not, so who you got for him today?
Yeah. Wow. So the Packers play Minnesota, who is pretty tough against the run. I'm starting Wilson in some spots where I have to, but I'm not wild about him against some of these other guys. Pearsall, don't know what you're going to get out of Pearsall yet. I mean, last week he went out there, he got a few targets, didn't have any catches, threw a goose egg up for me in a couple of spots. Kareem Hunt, yeah, I just don't know that they will sell out to the run. And Indianapolis isn't a great matchup anyway. Tracy, I'm not really crazy about. He probably will get some touches, but Detroit's the toughest defense in PPR on running backs. So I'm probably staying away from Tracy if I can. So I guess out of these 5 guys, I think the guy I like the most is Kenneth Walker against the Titans. It just profiles to be a good matchup. Like I said, there is the possibility that they decide to go air attack like they did against Washington just to put the game away early. But I don't know if I'm buying that. I think they'll run the ball a lot, and I think both Walker and Charbonnet are good plays to me this week. But I will lean towards Walker over Charbonnet. So yeah, out of these guys, to answer Jeff's question, Kenneth Walker's my guy.
And then I think he said pick 2.
Oh, okay. Well, then if I'm picking the second one, I'm going to go with Jacobs out. I think I'm going to go with Wilson. I think Wilson's probably going to have the most touches out of Kareem Hunt, Tyrone Tracy, and Ricky Pearsall. I mean, Pearsall's a good enough player. He could go off at any time, but it's not a great matchup against the Panthers. And I'm going to start him in some places. I'm not crazy about it, but that's the way the NFL goes in week 12. So it's going to be Walker and Wilson for me.
Yeah, no, this is an interesting question. Kind of goes back to just all the injuries that everybody's dealing with Pacheco out. Kind of makes Kareem Hunt intriguing. Looking at some numbers here, the Colts typically are good whatever the last 4 weeks, they are within like the top 10 in points to running backs, giving up 5 rushing touchdowns in that span as well. This is a must-win game for the Chiefs at 5-5 if they want to stay relevant in the AFC. So it's like, are they going to rely on Hunt? But some of the other options, I love Ken Walker this week against Tennessee. They're probably going to get a sizable lead early and rely on the running game, which I think bodes well for Walker game script. Tennessee has no healthy receivers outside of the rookie Shamir DK, and then Chig Okonkwo as a tight end. Outside of that, no Ridley, no Eli Mayor. So they're probably going to be in a bad spot. So I can see Walker getting a lot of touches, in the second half. Leads my first option. Emmanuel Wilson. I know it's not a great matchup against Minnesota, but the Packers are a running team. Jordan Love has not been playing well lately. And, no Tucker Kraft. They really do rely on the running game and the play action to get that offense rolling. So with Jacobs fully out, I think Wilson is a great start. You probably picked him up and had to use a waiver claim for him or spend a good amount of fab to obtain him at week 12 this week, this late in the season. So if you're picking up Wilson already, you got to start him because you are invested already. So my choice would be Ken Walker, Wilson. And then my third would be a Hunt out of these guys. As you mentioned, Ricky Pearsall. Unfortunately, had the goose egg last week. I still like him to bounce back with Brock Purdy back, but I got to see it first before plugging him into a lineup. So with you, Ken Walker, Wilson. Third would be Hunt for me. And then I'd like to welcome in Mr. Bill Dino. Welcome back, sir. As he says, win another game or go home. I think that's everybody right now. He needs one out of in a flex or PPR, Christian Watson versus the Vikings, Alec Pierce versus Kansas City, or Luther Burden versus Pittsburgh. Also, if Jacob sits, would you start Sharp or Wilson? Thanks, guys. What do you got for him, Dave?
So, win or go home. I think a lot of us are facing that prospect this week. So, flex PPR, first part of the question. It's Christian Watson, Alec Pierce, and Luther Burden III. I'm probably not, I hate to eliminate Burden. I just don't know what kind of target share he's going to get in that offense. Everybody's healthy there. I think Burden's probably third among the wide receivers, and I'm not even sure he's not behind the tight ends. So I know Pittsburgh's a great matchup. So if you really want to swing for the fences, you might go with Burden. Watson, I like. The Packers are going to have to attack the Vikings some way. It's either going to be on the ground or in the air. I think they're probably going to go with their regular offense, mixing things up. Watson's a little bit hard to trust. I know he had a couple of touchdowns last week, but he wouldn't have done much else if that hadn't happened. So Watson's another kind of a touchdown or bust guy, or you're going to get probably 8 to 10 points from him. I think I'm going to take a shot on Pierce. He's the wide receiver too there. And again, Indianapolis is going to have to attack the Chiefs. I'm sure they would love to retire the Chiefs. It pretty much is win or go home for the Chiefs the rest of the way. They're going to have a tough road if they don't win, at least against a very good team. They're 0-4 against teams that would be in the playoffs right now, and they haven't been winning close games. So I think I'm going to go with Pierce against Kansas City. I think that's going to be a dogfight of a game, and I think there's going to be plenty of points put up. So give me Pierce, a couple of long passes, and I would go that way. Jacobs is sitting, so I'm gonna. I know the start against the Vikings is tough on paper. I think Wilson profiles both as a running back, and they do use him out of the backfield in the passing game. So I'm going to go with Wilson. I know Charbonnet's got a pretty good matchup against Tennessee, but I think there's probably going to be more touches for Wilson. So those are my two guys, Wilson and Pierce.
Pierce. Ooh, I think this is our first disagreement today, Dave. Unfortunately,
Well,
am I?
that's a good thing.
Yep. So yeah, so actually on the slot versus wide this week, I'm actually sitting Alec Pierce this week. Kansas City gives the eighth fewest points to receivers lined out wide, which is where 90% of Pierce's production comes from. Now, he is ranked a top 25 receiver over the last month, but if he has to get the long ball, I think for him to be relevant, and the Chiefs play a lot of two high safeties, they want to avoid that big play. So they're going to probably put a lot of pressure on Danny Dimes, where I don't think we'll have enough time to get Pierce downfield. So, he has to hit on a big play, 15, 20, 25 yards to be relevant, I think, this week. So I'm sitting him based on that. So that leads me to Christian Watson, Luther Burden. Fun fact, Luther Burden did actually out-snap Zacchaeus last week, and he was second on the team with 5 targets. So he's someone to monitor. And if I'm not sure if this is a full-time switch at the slot with Burden there, but so he's kind of intriguing in that perspective there, as Pittsburgh does allow the most points to receivers right now. So I can see why you're intrigued by that. But from a slot perspective, they allow the 11th most points out of the slot. So he's a dart throw today, but I do think Christian Watson is the play. I don't know. He's just a big play guy for Jordan Love on the play action. So I think Green Bay, they need this win today. And I think Christian Watson will have to be targeted. He's starting to get more burn. And, he did score 2 TDs last week. And with Jacobs out, I think they're going to have to rely on their best playmakers. You got no Kraft, no Jacobs. I think Christian Watson's that guy. So I'm starting him this week. And then if Jacobs is sitting, as we know, I'm rolling with Emmanuel Wilson as well over Sharp. As mentioned earlier, though, in the pod on our live stream, I can see a situation in the fourth quarter where Charbonnet gets like 8 touches to close out the game. And, you get some cheap points there, but I still think Wilson gets more touches today, though. Out of the two. What do you think about Sharps getting a late tutty or 10 carries?
If that game gets that out of hand, I think you're going to see a lot of George Hikari. I don't think if they get out of hand and it's in the fourth quarter, I don't think that if it's like 30-10 or something like that, I don't think they're going to risk any of their top guys, this late in the season. So as far as garbage time points, it could happen. I just think if it gets too out of hand, they're probably going to go to the bench. As far as Watson goes, I could see that. I know he did have 2 touchdowns last week. That was against the Giants. This is against the Vikings. So Watson, I don't hate the Watson choice. I just disagree with it. But that's a good thing. We're offering options to our viewers. So
absolutely. Well, hopefully we'll have a few more of those to keep the drama alive today. Harryman's back. Thanks, guys, for the previous question. He has one more for us. Mark Andrews or Theo Johnson PPR tight end today. What do you think about this?
Wow. So the Giants have the I can't even read my own writing. They're playing Detroit. Detroit is top 12, 13 against tight ends in PPR. Darius Slayton's going to be back today, it looks like. So I think the Theo Johnson experiment, you can probably tell me where the slot wide is. If there's opportunities in the middle of the field, then maybe Theo Johnson. He probably could very well have more targets than Mark Andrews. But I'm probably going to bet on Andrews having a touchdown over Theo Johnson. So I'm going to go with Andrews, but I certainly don't hate Theo Johnson as an option. But Andrews for me over Johnson.
Yeah, no, this is a good question. Andrews, last week got a rushing touchdown off the fake tush push. I don't know if you
Yeah,
saw that.
I don't expect that to work again. That was that caught the Browns completely napping. I think that will be on the film room for the Raiders. Although I'm not sure the Raiders could stop it. No, they've got Baltimore has the Jets. Yeah, I'm still not sure the Jets could stop it, even if they know it's coming.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Theo Johnson is a really intriguing player. And it's just hard with all these backup quarterbacks in. Like you mentioned with the matchup, this is not a really good matchup for him against Detroit. They are bottom third, and they only allow roughly 8 points, to the tight end spot, so not ideal. Looking back to last week, though, he played a ton of snaps, though, 66, but only 4 targets, which was tied for third behind Wandell, Hodgins, and Jalen Hyatt. As you alluded to, Darius Slayton's back. He's going to take.
They ran the ball a ton against the Packers to stay in the game. So I don't know if they're going to be able to do that again this week.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that. So he's getting the snap share, which you like to see, but just with the targets and Jameis, I don't know if it's enough there. So just have to go with reliable Mark Andrews. He has been playing well lately. Lamar Jackson's back. Jackson loves him. I know we all love Likely with his appeal, big athletic tight end, but he's still splitting, snaps and targets. And Andrews is still the favorite tight end for Lamar. So with that being said, I gotta keep rolling with Andrews in this one as well.
Yeah, the thing that worries me about the Giants is the Lions got absolutely beat up last week by the Eagles, and they're at home today. They've got a much softer opponent. I think they may just absolutely blow out the Giants.
Yeah, no, I think so too. And what's the other thing that was weird though in that matchup is that the Lions didn't have Laporta either. So it's hard to say.
It sounds like they're not going to have Laporta until 2026.
Yeah, and so this looks like, that's unfortunate. But yeah, then you got to go Andrews in this one. Like you said, I think the Lions will be pissed off, and that's never a good sign with the Dan Campbell team. All right, well, thank you, Hiram. Hope to see you again. And our old friend Cosmo's back. Half PPR, Ken Walker or DK Metcalf with Mason Rudolph starting today.
Yeah, Mason Rudolph's the quarterback. That doesn't scare me off of Metcalf, but, I certainly don't put Mason Rudolph in Aaron Rodgers' class. The Pittsburgh may actually have to throw the ball to stay in that game with the Bears, but I do like that game to be close. I'm still going to go in half PPR. I'm still going to go with Ken Walker. Hopefully he can get a couple of passes, although they really have not been using the running backs in the passing game. But I do think Walker's in for a good yardage game and might score a touchdown at least. So I'm going to go with Walker over Metcalf. I just like Walker better than Metcalf in that game against the Bears. The Bears are a good matchup for wide receivers, but, DK just – I don't know why they don't use DK more in the short game. But they don't. So I'm gonna stick with my choice of Walker.
Yeah, no, I think I'm right there with you. It is a great matchup though against Chicago. They I believe are allowing the third most points to the receiver position. So I can see the intrigue with DK there. However, as you said, with Mason there, it doesn't scare me too much in a good matchup. But when you got Ken Walker, who is still getting the majority touches and snaps in an ideal matchup against Tennessee, that is nothing to play for. Um, I just have a hard time sitting Ken Walker. I really don't care who you throw out there in like a flex spot like this. So I'm gonna roll in with Ken Walker right now.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not thinking twice.
My Razzball guillotine team hopes you're right.
Yeah, well, I hope so too, and for our fanfare. Good luck to you, Cosmo, and let us know how it rolls. Looks like we got Bill Dino
Bill Dino's back.
He's back. So next thought, if I go Wilson, is it advisable to go 2 Packers and go Watson 2?
Well, I didn't advise you to take Watson, so I think no, but it's not because that the 2 Packer thought process. This could be a low scoring game, but I still think if you want to go with Watson over Pierce, then you go with Watson over Pierce. I'm not a big believer in you can't start 2 guys from the same team on your fantasy team. I know it works. I know it works better in daily, but I don't have a problem starting guys in redraft. I just don't think this game will be a super high scoring game. And I think the Packers are probably going to lean on the run as much as they can, like they usually do. Lean on the run in the short passing game. So I don't not like the 2 Packers, but I like Pierce still over Watson. So.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I don't worry about starting 2 players on the same team. Especially situational with injuries, bye weeks, matchup wise, just kind of looking at teams makeup right now this late into the year. I just personally like Watson better this week, so and probably a lot of rankings. If you look at other rankings, both guys are probably, within 5 to 10 spots of each other on rankings. So I think there's really no wrong answer there. It's just a preference and kind of what you think, who has a better matchup. I just worry about Pierce with the Chiefs this week. So, yeah, go with your gut. They'll be Mr. Bill. So good luck to you today. And then let's take a quick break and just kind of look at the Week 12 schedule. I know we're all doing pretty good. You and I are tied, I believe, right?
That very well could be the case.
Yeah, you are tied for 3rd right now, with Sir Styles leading the charge. So just go through a couple games here off the top here. Just give me like a quick answer and your reaction to it. But Baltimore and the Jets.
So for me, there's no way I could pick the Jets against Baltimore in Baltimore. I mean, the line is ridiculous. It would be a major upset for Tyrod Taylor to beat his former team. Although I think Tyrod Taylor, every team is his former team. Garrett Wilson is still on IR. They don't have a lot in the passing game, but you always seem to make do. I don't like Mason Taylor much this week, but he may be one of the only options they have in the passing game. I think they're probably going to try and run the ball as much as they can. I'm kind of throwing out the rankings as far as they go, because Baltimore got really beat up when they were injured early in the year and started out 1-5. They've been kind of a different team since they came back from the bye. It's the Ravens for me all the way.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Tyrod. That's just a mess right now. I feel bad for Glenn in that situation. They need to just tank and get a good quarterback next season, because they got the position players, to be a good offense. It's just, if you don't have a quarterback, it's just amazing just how, look at the record, 2-8. It's a shame, but yeah, gotta go Baltimore. Like the Chiefs, 5-5, so they're fighting there to get a wild card spot. So they have to have this one, and this is at home, like you said, almost 14-point spread. Like, it's crazy. This is Baltimore probably in an early route by halftime.
Yeah, unlike the Chiefs, though, Baltimore kind of holds their own fate in their hands because it's not like they don't have a team 8-2 ahead of them. They're basically one game behind the Steelers. So, they should concentrate on winning, but I don't think their situation is as dire as the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a great segue. Pittsburgh at Chicago. I think the line is 2.5 or 3 for Chicago. I'm assuming that's probably changed now with Aaron Rodgers out today. Fun fact for all my factoids out there: Aaron Rodgers for his career. Where was that? He's 25-5 all time against Chicago. So this would have been a fun game to see with Aaron Rodgers in there, but he's not. So who do you like here in this one?
Yeah, I don't really care about 25-year-old Aaron Rodgers against the Bears. It's like he's 41 now. So, it's nice to bring up history, but it's history. I really wanted to go with Pittsburgh. And this is a game I could kind of like go back and forth 3 or 4 different times trying to think it. Mason Rudolph doesn't scare me as much. I don't think it's as huge of a step down to Rudolph from Rodgers as it would have been, say, 5 years ago or more. But I still like the Bears at home. The Bears are fighting in a tough division. If they lose this game, I think they're going to kind of be shown off as like, okay, can we beat the tough teams? I know they just beat the Vikings. That was a little bit fluky. It was, they almost gave that game up. So I'm still going to go with the Bears, but I'm not real strong either way.
Yeah, I think if Aaron Rodgers was playing, I would have chosen Pittsburgh this week, but he's not. And somehow the Bears are 7-3. If you would have told me beginning of the year, heading into week 12 against this game, they would be 7-3, I'd say there's no way. But here we are. It's reality right now. So, I like Chicago. So at home, especially, like you said, Mason Rudolph isn't like the worst backup, but just going to go with Chicago in this one. And then our next matchup, we have New England at Cincinnati. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. It's in New England. I think the line is 6.5.
Yeah. And Derek's being interesting on that one. He's got Cincinnati. I'm not that brave. I just there's just too many holes in that Cincinnati team for me to believe that a 9-2 team is going to go in there and lose. It wouldn't be the shocker of all time, but it would be a pretty big upset. The Patriots are 6.5-point favorites in that game. I've got to go with the Patriots. The Cincinnati defense is a mess. The Patriots are going to get Ramondre Stevenson back, which probably only affects Travion Henderson, but they should be able to run all over that Bengals defense, especially with Trey Hendrickson still out. Nothing about the Bengals scares me. I know I love Joe Flacco in fantasy, but he's nursing a sore throwing shoulder right now. So, plus Jamar Chase is going to be out, right? So he got suspended for denying he spit on the cornerback from Pittsburgh last week, Jalen
Ramsey.
Yeah. So, it's could be a big game for T. Higgins. I know in a lot of the deeper leagues I'm in, Andre Yoshivash was a trendy pickup. And Mike Gesicki should be back today, but that means nothing to me. He was only playing a few snaps every game. He just can't block, right? So he's not really a fantasy relevant player to me. I had a couple people ask me about him during the week, and I think they're going to need their blockers today. So give me New England all day.
Yeah, I'm with it right there with you. New England, they're back to their old ways with Razzball. It's really interesting to see just the evolution of Drake May from one year to the next, and just how everyone loves him right now. He's playing well. There's no doubt about it. And yeah, definitely rolling with New England in this one, not even thinking twice. I am curious, though, by Derek's selection of Cincinnati. That bodes well for you and I trying to make up ground here. So like that for us.
Or him to put us away.
No, that's true, too.
He's concentrating on trying to make up ground on Styles, who has no picks in right now. I texted him to see if he was interested in filling out the sheet or texting us his picks.
I'm sure he'll get them to us. All right. Well, let's get back to some questions here. We got Like Lightning in with us. Good morning. Got 2 questions. Half PPR. Start 2 out of these options. Ken Walker. Everyone is. I don't know why they're questioning Ken Walker so much, but that's like probably the 5th time I've seen his name today. Junkins, Mooney, and then question Dak or Stafford.
So 2 of these guys, yeah. I mean, with the 3 options he has, I kind of understand the question. The Raiders are not a great matchup for running backs, and it's going to be interesting to see how Shadir Sanders is able to move the team against the Raiders. Hopefully, they'll be able to actually go downfield that they never did with Dylan Gabriel. So the question is, Shadir Sanders will stand back there like a statue and get sacked probably a ton. But he also could throw downfield that might loosen things up for Judkins. I'm going to go with Walker as the top guy. Mooney with Cousins against the Saints. The Saints are allowing the 13th fewest points, fantasy PPR points per game, to wide receivers. So I'm not real crazy about Mooney, and I'm not real crazy about Judkins, but I do think Judkins will get the touches. So I mean, if you're going to go with Mooney, you're hoping for some long plays. I'm not sure that's going to be an option with Cousins out there. So I'm going to go with Judkins and hope that Shadur can back off the defense somewhat to give Judkins some room to run, because he hasn't had that with Dylan Gabriel back there. The quarterback can question Dak or Stafford. I kind of like Stafford over Dak this week. I know he didn't do much last week against the Seahawks, but the Rams really didn't really have to do much on offense last week against the Seahawks. The Seahawks offense did plenty for the Rams. So I think in a game where they're playing against Tampa Bay, who gets Chris Godwin back, so hopefully that'll at least throw the Rams off the scent enough to open up the running game for Tampa. I think that game's going to be closer than the Philly-Dallas game. I know Dak might have to throw a lot too. So I think both of these guys are good, but I think I'm going to lean a little bit towards Stafford against Tampa Bay tonight.
Yeah, no, I like that choice there. I'm looking at some stats here real fast on the quarterback one. So I will go first. Let's see. So yeah, I like Judkins. I surprisingly, I think Sanders will throw it downfield. For whatever reason, I just feel like they had training wheels on Gabriel, and from a fantasy perspective, it just got really annoying. Tillman is back now for Cleveland too, getting more involved. So I think him and Judy will get some passes downfield. This unfortunately will go against the tight ends now. So I think you need to lower the tight ends in Cleveland now personally, and I'm elevating the receivers a little bit higher. People really don't love Shadur Sanders. I can understand why, but I kind of like him actually. He's intriguing, so I think it will open up things for Judkins. And Junkins had all the carries last week. For the Browns, 17-1 for Ford and 1 to Sampson. So he's getting the carries. So I'm trusting him and Ken Walker. Mooney is interesting with London out. But I think this might bode well for Kyle Pitts more so than Mooney, actually. Mooney hasn't really looked himself this season when he has played. So I'm going to go with Walker and Judkins. And now matchup-wise for the quarterback, the best matchup, if you're looking at this statistically, is Stafford against the Bucs. The Bucs are allowing the third most points to quarterbacks over the last month of football. So looking at that looks well, and kind of looking at all time Dak against Philly, since they play, twice a season, a divisional game, always a lot on the line. Dak has, what is his, it doesn't calculate, but yeah, he has to somewhat played well against Philly over his career. He didn't play against them last season, so the last game was in 23, it looks like. In those 2 games, he had 5 touchdowns to 0 interceptions, and he threw 3 tutties at Philly, went for 375. So, Cowboys, I can see Dak having a good game, but I just think I prefer Stafford at home against Tampa Bay with his receivers. So I'm going to roll with Matt Stafford as well. Any other takes on that one?
No, I like Stafford. I like Stafford over Dak. I'm not a big fan of going back 2 years and saying, okay, well, he succeeded against the guy, against the team. This Philly defense just is jailbreak. This Philly defense, since they got Jalen Phillips, it's just on another level. I mean, Jared Goff is 6'4", and they batted like 5 passes at the line of scrimmage against him last week. They just are disruptive, and that worries me about Dak. So the question is what Brian Schottenheimer comes up with to combat that. So I'm excited for that game, but I could see that getting out of hand for Philly. They haven't been real exciting on offense. Dallas has been better on defense, but I still like that to be a higher scoring game than last week's.
All right, hear you. And I stand corrected. The Dak did play him this year, obviously in Philly, so I misread the stuff there. But yeah, at home, Dak is usually a better player too, and he didn't do well beginning of the year, so take that into consideration. So I think Stafford is the play this week. So moving along here, I think this is a very fun question here. So who should I start? Jacoby Myers, Aaron Jones, Trey Tucker?
Okay, so Aiden 6141, if you're still out there, could you throw in the chat what type of league this is? If it's PPR, half PPR, non-PPR, that would be helpful.
And then do you need any?
Yeah, so we'll go. Do you want to move on or answer it?
No, I'll answer it. I'll answer it all the way. If it's standard, I'm going to go with Aaron Jones. I just don't think there's going to be the opportunities for Tucker or Myers in a standard league to score touchdowns. So I'm going to go with the guy that's probably going to get the most touches. If it's half PPR, I think I'm still going to go with Jones. Again, the only thing that would tip me to Myers would be if it's a full PPR league. I think Myers is getting more comfortable in that offense. Brian Thomas Jr. is still out. They may get Brenton Strange back today, which honestly makes it better for me. If you have another guy to throw the ball to, that means they have to worry about more guys on the field. So I think Myers could very well be the go-to guy in Arizona. So if it's a PPR league, it's Myers. If it's anything else, it's Aaron Jones. I just don't see Trey Tucker doing a lot against the Browns today.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Interestingly, Tucker has been, he started playing more on the slot at the beginning of the year, but now he's actually playing out wide more. Which I found to be
that's because they traded Myers.
Yeah, no, I know. So it's interesting. So it's like, wow. So yeah, and with Geno Smith not playing well either, Raiders are a mess. Unfortunately, I know that's your
Hey, but
squad.
Aiden O'Connell is back.
Maybe he should start.
He's behind Kenny Pickett right now, so that's probably not going to happen.
But yeah, so I'm with you. I think Jones is the right play. We'll assume half PPR standards. Yeah, I think it's Jones for this one as well. I do like Jacoby Myers though. Like I said, he is getting more comfortable, getting more targets. But I'm waiting to see Brenton Strange. I think Strange does become he gets the most targets, I think, if he's back this week. Activated off the IR, so questionable. I think the expectation he is going to play, but more to come on that one. So for right now, though, I'm going Aaron Jones. And we'll go to Jeffrey next here. What's up, guys? Looking for some advice. He does say PPR. Should I start DeAndre Swift, Alvin Kamara, or Aaron Jones?
So let's look at the matchups. Actually, Pittsburgh is much better to pass on than to run. So the question is DeAndre Swift going to get enough enough touches to warrant starting over Kamara? I think, wow. That to me, Aaron Jones is third. Let me kind of put him to the back. The Packers are a pretty good run defense. I know they. Wait a minute. Yeah. So they gave up yardage last week, but I still like them as a run defense. So I'm gonna sit Aaron Jones out of the three. So that leaves between Swift and Kamara. I just think right now the Bears offense is just a much better offense than the Saints offense. I know the Falcons have been falling apart on defense. I just don't know that Kellen Moore is going to use Kamara in the way we're used to. I mean, I've never seen Kamara just be pretty much a running back before.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of his value in PPR came from receptions, and those just aren't there this year. So I'm going to start Swift over Kamara and Jones here.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I have the same dilemma in one of my other leagues as well. DeAndre did get 21 touches last week. Kyle Monunga got 12 and stole the touchdown. A lot of vulture touchdowns last week, which you hate to see in fantasy. But it looks like Swift is still the guy. I know I was a huge fan of Monunga entering the year. I thought he would get some more standalone value, but it really hasn't happened after his big game when he started for Swift. He's still, he spells time, but Swift is getting, majority of the snaps, doubled them last week. I feel like Swift is always questionable leading into every game with a groin, an ankle, whatever the case, but then he plays majority of the snaps and gets majority of the touches. So that's you can't overlook that. Now looking at Kamara, actually looking last, so he had a bye last week, but in week 10, he had the most touches, it seemed like, in a very long time. 22 attempts and 3 catches. So it was his highest output of all season. Now, with Keandre Miller out, I don't know if they trust Evan Neal with these touches and carries and snaps. So I think I want to see it one more week with Kamara before trusting him fully. As you mentioned, Kellen Moore just doesn't want to utilize him as he's supposed to, and it doesn't make any sense. The Saints are typically down, and they don't throw his way. It's mind-boggling. So I want to wait to see it again from Kamara. So this week I am going Swift as well, even though I don't love the matchup, though. Well, we have a start sit from Brock here.
Just
a question.
Just looks like a comment. So
yeah.
thanks for stopping by.
Appreciate it. Want to make sure I didn't miss it anywhere. I don't see a follow-up. So if you're still with us, following on from anywhere you're watching us, come back and give us your question.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in.
And lastly, we got a shout out from Like Lightning.
Like Lightning is thanking us.
Yeah. Appreciate you tuning in with us today. So let's kind of go back through the schedule here. Next matchup, we got the Giants and the Lions. Who you got on this one? Spread is, I think, 11 points now for Detroit.
Okay, well, that's still, the Giants would pull off a major upset if they beat Detroit in Detroit after Detroit got handed their heads in Philadelphia. I just don't see the Giants having the personnel to do what the Eagles did to the Lions. So, and they don't even have the Philly anemic offense that seems to be fighting more with themselves other than anything else. So we're going to go with the Lions. Sorry, I'm kind of reading this. Did we answer Wandier's 2634 question? Oh, here it is.
Right. Oh no, that just came in.
Yeah. So it looks like
just came in.
Looks
so
like
shout out super chat.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. We have here start 2. Travis Etienne, DeAndre Swift, Quinshon Judkins. Worried about Tootin. You should be. And worried that the Browns will suck. Fair enough. Tough one. Who you got for him in this one?
Yeah, well, Swift is the guy for me out of those 3. So that's the first one. And then it comes down to ETN versus Judkins. And, I'm sure Judkins will have the touches. I just think the Browns offense is just – this could be another 10-7 game that makes me want to shoot my TV. So I'm going to bypass Judkins for ETN here. I know you're worried about Tootin. Okay, that's fine. This Tootin, you could probably pull it up and tell me how worried we should be about Tootin. I think last week ETN was just fine. I think they both got plenty of run in that game, but ETN's still the guy that's getting more of the touches. And it's against the Cardinals. I think that game could be pretty high scoring. I was a little bit worried about starting Brissett last week against the 49ers, and he just went out and made history. So yeah. He completed 47 passes, which is an NFL record. So, had 400 and something yards, a couple of touchdowns. He did make some mistakes that probably helped cost him the game, which is why he's not a regular starter in the NFL. But, that's never stopped me from starting Jameis Winston or Joe Flacco. So I think this game could be a total shootout. And I 100% love ETN to be a big part of that game plan. So I'm not that worried about Tootin. I'm going to take ETN and Swift. I do like Judkins to get the most touches. I'm just worried that the Browns are, like you said, I'm worried that the Browns will suck too.
Yeah, no, that's a fair assessment. If the Browns will suck. If you think they do, then you don't like Judkins. That's fair enough. I actually do like ETN this week. I know Tootin is healthy, but the Cardinals are allowing the 8th most points to running backs over the last month of football, which bodes well. The Jags do run the ball more than passing. It's not by much, though. 55% passing attempts to 45% rushing on their splits. But yeah, the Jags are a running team. They don't want Trevor throwing too much. So I do like ETN this week. I think Tootin does steal some carries. But I think it was Tootin with a hot hand last week. He was playing very well, don't get me wrong. ETN, finished it off for Jacksonville, but you can't sit ETN. And then same thing with you. I think DeAndre Swift is the number 1 choice of these 3. Then I'm also leading ETN. I can see the reason for Judkins. He'll probably get more touches than ETN, but I think ETN will do more with his touches than Judkins will. So good luck to you out there. And thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it. Go to our Christmas bonus.
Yeah, stocking stuffer. Hey, we love all the super chats. So we love all our viewers. So we're happy you guys are tuned in, and we're glad to help.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we'll go back to some of the games and our predictions, but some inactives. Matthew Golden is out. Rashad Bateman is out, and then this is a big one. I think is Jonathan Greenyer from Minnesota. So I kind of likened the Packers more so with him being out, which I think bumps up Wilson. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I kind of had an idea that Greenard would be out today, but that's a boost to the Packers running game with the Greenard's a tough guy to have on the front seven. So Golden's out. Let's see. Yeah, Bateman we already knew. They had declared Bateman out. Keon Coleman. Well, Keon Coleman's out again. Well, that was the Thursday night.
Okay.
Well, I think Keon Coleman's in the doghouse. He may be sitting for a while.
Wow. Yeah, I'm still shocked by that. And then just as how he acts, like on the sidelines, doesn't seem like a guy who's really concerned that he's been benched 2 weeks in a row, showing up late to practice and video set. It's just like, man, like, and you have Josh Allen as your quarterback. You're aspiring to win a Super Bowl, and you're like, it's just fascinating to me that some of these decisions that some of these athletes have.
Yeah, he got benched the previous week, supposedly because he missed a team meeting, but it seems a little bit harsh benching him for 2 weeks in a row for that. So Jermaine Burton is going to be out for the Bengals. Samaje Perine, no surprise there. Craig Reynolds is out for the Lions. Like you mentioned, Golden is going to be out. I don't see anybody else there. I wasn't expecting. Jacobs, we already knew about. DJ Giddens is out for the Colts, so I'm not sure who the backup there is now. Elijah Mitchell's going to be out along with Pacheco, so wheels up for Hunt and maybe Brashard Smith. Let's see, Vikings. Most of their stuff is on defense. They're going to be missing a lineman. Patriots, I guess Tommy DeVito will be the emergency quarterback. Dart's out. We pretty much got that was announced on Friday. Khalil Herbert will be sitting for the Jets, so I guess Isaiah Davis is backing up Breece Hall. Let's see, so Aaron Rodgers is out. We knew that. Ernest Jones is going to be out for the Seahawks, so that's as big of a downgrade to a defense as any I see out there. A.O. Manor is going to be out for the Titans. That was announced the other day. So no other big surprises.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's knock out some more of the schedule games there and see if any more questions pop up. We talked about that. Detroit, New York.
We left off with the Lions and Detroit. I mean, the Lions and the Giants. So.
I think it's pretty obvious we got Detroit in this one. They're pissed off.
Yeah.
Green Bay, Minnesota.
Green Bay, Minnesota. I'm going to go with the Packers here. It's kind of a must-win for the Vikings. I could see them pulling off a slight upset, but I just still like the Packers at home, and I'd probably give the Vikings the points, but I think the Packers are going to win a tough scrum of a game.
Yeah, I like Green Bay in this one. I think Minnesota's trending the wrong direction, and it just makes you wonder. I know they had draft capital McCarthy though, but you had Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, let them both leave the building, and they're both playing extremely well right now. So you hate to see that from Kevin O'Connell, typically a fantasy-friendly offense, but not so much this season. But I don't think it's enough for what they got going on there to win in Green Bay.
Yeah. I think Justin Jefferson agrees with you. I don't know if you saw that last week, but he was frustrated.
Rightfully so, though. Now, this is one of the most fascinating games to me this week is the Indianapolis and Kansas City game.
Yeah, it's kind of a must game for both teams, right? Indianapolis would love to say, okay, well, look at us, we're legit, right? We knocked off a top team in the AFC, and whether you like it or not, the Chiefs are still a top team in the AFC. They just they just haven't been able to pick it up and win the close ones. But every game that they've gotten on top and gotten a decent lead against a team, they've closed out. So I don't know that they win a close game. I think they win a blowout. So if they get the blowout, then it's going to be the Chiefs. I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I don't dislike Indy, and I would not be shocked to see Indianapolis win this game. But I think the Chiefs are going to circle the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. So anyway, I think I'm going to go with the Chiefs this week. I just think they're going to pick it up and show signs of life the rest of the way. That they're going to be dragged out of the building.
Yeah, if the Colts were at home, I'd probably lean the Colts, but they're in Arrowhead. Like you said, this is a must win. Chiefs are on the bubble right now as a playoff team. And can you imagine if the Chiefs go under 500 at this point of the year? I just can't see it. I know everyone says it's not in the script for the NFL because they want the Chiefs in there. And I love my home as a Red Raider, but yeah, they have to win this one, and I think they will pull it out.
Yeah, it would be cool to see how many dumb questions about Andy Reid being on the hot seat pop up on social media.
Yeah, no, that would definitely happen.
Yeah.
Well, we got another question actually from Jets fan. We got Sean Tucker, Rome Odunze, Kirk Cousins Superflex spot. I'm assuming we'll go standard half PPR, but in a Superflex, pretty sure it's probably a PPR league.
Yeah, I mean, PPR is the only place I would consider the other guys. You know, if it is indeed a PPR league, yeah, wow. I probably would go with the Dunze. I know Tucker had a huge week last week, but that was a game that was the Buffalo Bills are a very, very porous run defense. The Rams are not. I know they gave up a bunch of yards last week, but the Seahawks had to run the ball 35 times to get there. Kenny Walker cashed in a touchdown, but that was only the second touchdown against the Rams defense. So I'm not real big on Tucker in this spot. I'm going to go with a Dunze over Cousins. And if I remember, Jets fan, you are in a PPR or half PPR league. If it's half PPR, I'm probably going to go with, I think I'm still going to go with the Dunze against the Steelers. The Steelers are just a pretty terrible pass defense.
Yeah, I am right there with you on this one. Even in a super flex, I'm rolling with Rome Odunze this week as well. Had him as one of my highlighted players as a start. Yeah, Steelers are allowing the most points right now out wide as well at 32.5 points per game to receivers. And I just like this for Odunze. He's majority of his points do come out wide as well. He's been up and down over the past month of football, but anytime he had a bad game, he followed up with a top 10 finish. So wouldn't be surprised if we see another top 10 finish from him this week. And I like him a whole much more than Kirk Cousins. We didn't see a lot out of him last time he started, and there's no Drake London. They're going to rely on Algier and Bijan in Atlanta. So I'm going with Rome Odunze as well. And you're welcome, Jets fan. Happy to always sup on this Sunday.
Yeah, and thanks for playing in the Guillotine League this year.
Yeah, brutal. I don't talk about that still. doing well in all the other leagues, but guillotine didn't. I just learned my lesson.
Well, it's as much a luck league as any other fantasy type out there. You make the wrong choice one time and you get buried.
Mm-hmm. And once you lose, you're done. Like there's no trying to redeem yourself.
Oh yeah, you get one loss all season. But the good news is you don't have to beat your one opponent until the end of the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just gotta. It's like the joke where I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun you. So.
Very true. We got another one here from Jeffrey back here. Another one, PPR, 1 point bonus, tight end premium. Love those leagues. Would you start Njoku, Fannin, Etienne, or Pittman?
1 point bonus for tight end premium. Wow, that's a pretty good premium. But having said that, actually one of the areas that the Raiders are competent on defense is not allowing points to the tight end. They're in PPR points per game. They're fourth from the bottom. They allow the fourth fewest PPR points per game. So I'm probably going to pass on Njoku and Fannin, and that just leaves it between Etienne and Pittman. And I do like Pittman this week. I just don't like Pittman above Etienne. So I'm going to start Etienne in this situation. If I had a second, it would be Pittman, and a third, it would be Fannin. Njoku just has not been doing anything. And I know we're starting from scratch with Shedeur Sanders out there today, but it's Etienne, Pittman, Fannin for me. Etienne is the top guy if you need one.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% right there behind you as well. I'm going Etienne. As you alluded to, the Raiders are very competent against tight ends. That's where they do excel. And like you said, we have Shedeur Sanders out there. I just like the receivers a lot more than the tight ends now. And then we're going to see that change on the offense. Now Shedeur will throw it downfield. He's willing to take risks, while I think Gabriel was not willing to. Maybe it was the play calling. I don't really know, but I think Shedeur will air it out. And last week was an indication he targeted his receivers more as well. And that leads us to Pittman and Etienne. I do think I like Etienne more, especially in the PPR. Didn't really realize it, though. The Jags are 7th in the playoff hunt in the AFC, and this is kind of a must-win since the Texans won against the Bills earlier this week. And the Chiefs right there, too. So this is not a gimme game for the Jags. So they have a lot to play for. And I think they're going to have to rely on Etienne to get over the hurdle. I do like Pittman, though, but he's second. But again, just the Chiefs are good against the pass. And if there is a splash play, it'll be Pierce. I don't think it'll happen. So I think it'll be a low-scoring affair actually in that one. So I'm going to go Etienne over Pittman. And that leads us directly into it.
More games?
Yeah, I was going to say it leads us directly into our next one here, Arizona, Jacksonville.
Yeah, this is one I have not picked yet. I flip-flop back and forth on this one. I'm leaning to the Jags, for pretty much all the reasons you just said. It is a game that they have to have. I don't think Arizona is really entertaining playoffs at this point in time. They've lost a ton of games since they started out promising, and all they can do is play spoiler at this point. And I know they would love to do that, but I probably like Jacksonville just a touch better. But I do think this is going to be one of the more competitive games today. I think there's going to be plenty of points to go around.
Yeah, the over-under is 46.5, which is, I think that's like top 5 today.
Probably, yeah. There's a couple
It's
in the
up
high
there.
40. There's a couple on the. So basically, it's New England, Cincinnati, the Giants, and Detroit, Tampa Bay, and the Rams, and oddly Carolina and San Francisco, which I think I'd take the under on.
Yeah, that's wild. It's 50. I saw 49.5. Oof.
Yeah.
I mean, Carolina is playing well though, so there's no disputing that. But yeah, I guess I thought the 46, and I thought it was a high scoring game, but it's actually not. There's a lot of 49s and 50s today.
Yeah, yeah. Kansas City and Indy is a high scorer too. So
yeah, I take the under for that one for sure. Normally an overs guy, but I'm taking the under in that game.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I think the Jags pull it off. It is only 2.5 for the line, which is interesting. But yeah, I'm going with the Jags in this one. Let's see next. Tennessee, Seattle.
Yeah, that one I didn't struggle with much at all. I've got the Seahawks winning that game pretty easy, and I think most of the people laying down money. That's the lowest implied point total of the day is the Titans. They're the last implied point total I saw for them was under 14. So yeah, and the Seahawks, the last line I saw, they were 13-point favorites. So yeah, I'm going with Seattle in this one. It would be a huge shocker to have Seattle go down. I know it's cross country and blah blah blah. You know, the Titans are just a bad football team. Give me the Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Seattle is playing extremely well. Tennessee, even though they're on the road in Tennessee, I'm not really worried about that. The line is now 12.5. Still very sizable, like nice little margin there. But yeah, over.
I may change my mind.
And implied is 41 right now as well, so that's interesting there. But yeah, no, definitely Seattle for that one. Yeah. Not even a thought. And then here we go, Cleveland at Las Vegas.
I have
2-8 teams.
I have no idea. You could ask me twice in 5 minutes, and I probably would give you a different answer. I want to pick the Raiders, and I want to pick the Browns. They're both so incompetent. It's just hard to. I could see both of them losing. So
our third tie of the season.
Yeah, it could be. They could both get a loss on this game, but I'm going to go with the Raiders at home, and just slightly. And I haven't put my choice in the sheet yet, and it may be different by the time I do. But for now, it's going to be the Raiders at home.
I hear you. Oh, I'm at second tie. My bad. And I as well. I think I'm going to lean the Browns. I just think the Raiders are just.
Yeah, talk to me in 5 minutes. I could be right there with you,
dude. Yeah, it's. I guess I'm just more excited when I look at the quarterbacks. Just Geno is just not doing it. He's banged up, and last week they forgot about Ashton Genty.
He's got no time. He's got no time back there. I don't care who the quarterback is. Patrick Mahomes has had a rough year with pressure. So, if you can't block, I mean, they're the most missed player in NFL this year might be Colton Mitchell, their left tackle. He's been out since week 4. They just Geno looks up and there's a guy right in his face. And, it was a good week for the Cowboys to take off the training wheels and just go after the passer last week. So I don't think the Browns are going to have any problem getting to Geno this week. And that kind of worries me about my Raiders choice. But it could just be a knockdown drag out. So I'm sorry, man. I really cut you off there.
Oh, no, you're good. It's your Raiders. Yeah, you take the airways when we talk about it.
They are not my Raiders. I picked them. I picked them as my bold prediction. I went to games when they were in Oakland. They're not my team. My team might even be worse. It's the New York Giants. So, and I have no illusions of how bad that team is. So.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think Shedeur Sanders might actually play well today. I would like to see it. I think the NFL would like to see it. Would make Cleveland really interesting as a storyline, as a end the season, to see if he's their starter next season, or if Gabriel, if they trade him. Like, a lot of interesting storylines. So I would like to see that, because what if the Raiders trade for Shedeur Sanders in the offseason?
Yeah, well, I don't know why they would do that when they have a top 5 pick. It's, I mean, they could say, hey, let's get Shedeur Sanders and pick a defensive tackle or something. But you know what? This is supposedly a good year for quarterbacks coming out of college. So if you're not going to pick one now, when are you? They don't have anybody on the roster right now that looks like the quarterback of the future. And, I'll defend Geno, because, like I said, that offensive line is terrible. They can't get the number 6 overall pick last year in the draft going in the running game with that line. So, the more I think about this game, the more I lean towards the Browns.
Yeah, well, they could go quarterback, but I feel like they need a lot of things, though. For the Raiders, and they drafted Jack Besh and Deontay Thornton, neither of which are doing anything, and they traded Jacoby Myers away, and they're still not really getting burned. And it's just like, well, are those receivers going to be anything? There are some nice receivers in this draft. Could they take one early, trade for a quarterback? Like, it's fascinating. So I think this game will be fun to see how it plays out.
Let me put a situation in there that could possibly be along the same lines. 2020, I think it was 2020. No, maybe 2021, when the Bengals had the 5th pick and they had a choice between Penei Sewell and Jamar Chase, and they went with Jamar Chase. Worked out pretty good, but Joe Burrow's on the sideline now, trying to come back from getting his leg ripped off in week 2. So, it could go either way. There's no guarantee the Raiders will make the right choice. They've been terrible in the draft over the years. So
no, that's true. I just wonder if Pete Carroll will even be back next year.
Oh yeah, no, they should have like 6 or 8 more coaches they're paying for not coaching them. So I say, if it was me, I'd say give Carroll another year. Get rid of friggin' Chip Kelly, though. I mean, oh my God, he doesn't even sound like he has a clue. So they're asking him questions. Well, I'm not quite sure. Okay, well,
yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Let's move on here. Philly at Dallas. I think the line is 3.5. Let me verify that.
3.5. It's a close enough game where, this is not one of those games where it's clear cut to me. It's 2 divisional opponents that know each other extraordinarily well. And I know there's a new coach in Dallas, but he's been a part of that organization for a long time. So he knows what's what between those 2 teams. So what it's going to come down to is if Dallas can protect Dak Prescott. If Dallas can protect Dak Prescott, then they've got a chance to win. I think they can run the ball. I don't see a reason Javonte Williams can't succeed in this game. The question is on offense on the Philly side, can they actually get going? I think maybe this is a different Dallas defense than we saw before the bye. They got a handful of guys back on defense last week, and they looked superb against a terrible team. So this game is going to be very interesting to me. I have not made my pick yet. Being on the spot, I would pick Philadelphia. But I could see Dallas winning this game, and it may go down to who's active and who's inactive for me to make my choice finally.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to be the Lone Ranger. I'm taking Dallas at home. Dak's hot, a lot of momentum. I know there was the Raiders, but, they got a lot of momentum, and I do think they get it done today.
As hard as it is to believe, they probably have a better offense.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would disagree with that, though.
Yeah, I mean,
And,
there's
and,
a
and I
lot
think
of
if you don't, you're not watching games, I think.
there's a lot of squawking going on in Philadelphia if you believe what you read in the media and on social networks. They won't say it, but there seems to be some dissatisfaction between AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts. And I mean, there's some thought that Jalen Hurts probably isn't being aggressive enough. And you know what? That comes down to the coaching staff. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. If they take the wheels off. He hasn't been running that much, right? That's the whole thing. It's mostly tush pushes, right? So I mean, it's going to be interesting if Dallas can score some points. I think you're right. They could beat Philadelphia.
Yeah. Well, on that note, Epic Fail joins us. Welcome, Epic. I was waiting for you to join us today, so thanks as always. And this is a phenomenal question.
It's an awesome question.
Wilson,
PPR,
Walker, who you
Emmanuel
got?
Wilson or Kenneth Walker? I'm probably going to lean with Kenneth Walker in this case, but I'm not super high on Kenneth Walker over Emmanuel Wilson. I think Emmanuel Wilson is probably going to be more active in the passing game, which makes him definitely more attractive in a PPR or half PPR format. I just think the matchup for Kenneth Walker in Tennessee is so much better than the one for Wilson. I think Wilson will have more touches, but the Vikings defense is going to have to really, really rise up to keep them in that game today. And as far as it goes, between these two guys, I like Walker, but I am starting Wilson in a bunch of places. So I like both of them, but I like Walker a little bit more than Wilson in this case.
Yeah, this is a great one. Just looking at the matchup situation alone, Walker has the best. It's not even a question there. But as I alluded to earlier, some of these questions, if you got Wilson, you had to have used your top waivers claim on him or spent the most fab or your remaining fab to get him. And with Jacobs being ruled out, it's just really hard for me to bench Wilson if you're picking up a guy. Chris Brooks, I guess the de facto backup, is strictly a pass catcher. And even in that game last week, I think he only had 5 snaps and 1 touch. Wilson had 39 snaps with 11 carries. Packers are going to need to run the ball. I don't think they want to rely on Jordan Love throwing 40 times a game. And nor do I think this game will come to that based on the Vikings offensive play. So I say that, but I think I'm still leaning Kenneth Walker. But I can see going either way, though.
It is a legit question. It's 50-50.
6-7. Yeah. As my son would say.
So I can totally get behind Wilson as a start. It's not like a chasm between Wilson and Walker for me. They're right there. So I'm just going to I'm going to lean on the matchup, and I get you leaning on probably the potential touches. It's a great question. Thanks, Epic Fail.
Yeah, and he follows up for another one with us. Superflex, Mason Rudolph or Jameis.
Yeah, both of those matchups are actually decent, but I think Jameis has probably got a slightly better one. Let me take a look. Mason Rudolph against the Bears. Well, no, I think Rudolph has a slightly better matchup, but I think I'm going to go with Winston in this one. I think he's going to have to absolutely put the balls in the air to do anything against the Lions. He may throw 5 interceptions, but it's a game. Well, Mason Rudolph is absolutely the safer play. Okay. I just don't think that the Steelers are going to try and air the ball out. I just don't think they have the passing attack to do it. They might wind up being in a situation where they do, but I'm betting that Jameis has the better offensive day. But Rudolph is absolutely the safer play.
Yeah, I think Rudolph is safer, better matchup, but I'm leaning Jameis. I think he is going to have to air it out. There's going to be a lot of passing attempts for him. And with Slayton back as well, I think they're just going to have to do it. The Lions are going to probably get up early on them, I'm assuming. And if they do, they're going to have to throw it a lot more. And interestingly, the Lions have given up 18 touchdowns, which is, the fifth most in the league. A lot of teams. So, I mean, it's not like the Lions defense is that great where like you're that worried, but they've only had 8 interceptions, so 18 allowing passing touchdowns. So it doesn't really worry me. Now the Bears have allowed 21 touchdowns, but 15 interceptions. So I can see Mason Rudolph turning the ball over in this one. And then they really don't have a number 2 receiver still. I know they have Roman Wilson. Calvin Austin's interesting, but I think Aaron Rodgers has elevated Calvin Austin. Roman Wilson just doesn't do it for me still. So I think if you double up against DK, they're going to have to rely on the running backs, and that doesn't bode well for Mason Rudolph. So that being said, I think Jameis is the better play this week. And Epic, as always appreciate you joining us, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming by, man. We love it when our regulars are in the tavern with us.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're down to the last 3 games of the week here. Atlanta at New Orleans. 3-7 and 2-8 for New Orleans. Who should you like in this one?
I know I know New Orleans isn't very good. They've only got 2 wins. But I'll tell you what, I like them in this game. The wheels are just falling off for the Falcons. A promising season has just kind of fallen apart. They have just been absolutely smoked by injuries, on both sides of the ball. Now Penix is out, Drake London is out. It's Bijan Robinson or bust today. I like the Saints in this game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a dogfight, but I think the Saints still have enough warm bodies to overcome what's left of the Falcons.
Mm-hmm. I like Epic here. Little hungover, and I think our friends in New Orleans will be hungover as well. I think the Saints get it done today. Wouldn't be the first time for New Orleans for people to be hungover. So, I just think Atlanta just is a mess now. No top receiver. Kirk Cousins just is not it. And I think New Orleans defense has actually been better than most realize. And I think they get it done today.
Yeah, their defense is legit. Their offense doesn't really help them, but their defense is legit. And, the Falcons was at first too, but bodies just keep dropping on that defense. It's just a shame.
All right, and the last game for Sunday Night Football, Tampa Bay at LA against the Rams. This is another great game this week.
Yeah, and it's not a slam dunk for me. I certainly think the Buccaneers could upset them, but I'm going to go with the Rams. I'd feel better if some of the bodies were back for Tampa. They're going to get Chris Godwin back, but what is Chris Godwin going to be? He hasn't looked anywhere near himself at all this season. They decided to hold Bucky Irving out of this game and give him another week to heal up. So, Mike Evans is still on IR. Who knows if he's even going to be back this year? The Bucs have a lot to play for. That's the one thing that I want to hang my hat on for the Bucs. But I think the Rams are going to have to keep pace with the Seahawks, and I think the Rams are going to come through in this game tonight.
Yeah, I was going back and forth on this one. This is one of my harder ones, but I ended up going with the Rams. Tampa Bay, I'm kind of worried about Bucky Irving. There's a lot of weird comments about what's going on behind the scenes with him, and we know we all love him. You know, we love our Ducks, and hopefully he's well and gets back to the field. Godwin is coming back for them as well, but going across to the West Coast, and the Rams are playing great football. And Stafford's just been red hot. So I think the Rams get it done. But it would be fun if Tampa Bay made it interesting, so they can do some jockeying for a top seed. I mean, they are 6-4. Rams are 8-2. They do that. They're only half game out that top spot. Philly's 8-2 as well, though. But there's some jockeying to be done in the NFC right now. So this could be one of those potential playoff matchups that we'll probably see again later this season. But I just can't see the Bucs overcoming the Rams right now this late in the year on the road. So
it's funny to think of the Carolina Panthers battling the Buccaneers for the division lead. And,
it could happen.
Yeah, very well could.
And then that leads us, actually, great segue, Dave. Yeah. I don't know if you planned that or not, but kudos to you. We have Monday Night Football, Carolina at San Fran. It's a 7.5 spread right now in favor of the Niners.
Yeah, you're giving me too much credit. I'm 100% chaos. Whatever goes on here, it's just like 25 things going on at the same time. So it's a little menagerie in my head. So anyway, for the game tomorrow night, I could see the Panthers winning. Absolutely. The 49ers are just a weird team. They, as easily as they won that game last week, it probably was closer in actuality. It just came down to some mistakes being made by the Cardinals to turn that into a romp. It's up to the Panthers then. If the Panthers can turn this into a dogfight, they can absolutely win this game. But I don't think they have a large margin for error. I think the 49ers probably have a little bit bigger of a margin of error. So that means I'm going to take the 49ers at home, 10 minutes down the road.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think with Brock Purdy back, it's a much different team. And I definitely like the Niners more. Carolina is intriguing. They are playing well. Bryce Young, as I alluded to in my previous articles, he just plays well. He plays well in Atlanta. And so on the road, though, now, I know the Niners are banged up still, but I just still think that I just can't oversee the Niners losing this one at home. Big game for them as well. So
yeah, I don't want to hang my hat on Bryce Young having a big game like he did last week. It's just that was his career high in yardage.
Mm-hmm.
And,
it was.
And it's only the second game he's had all year with more than 200 passing yards. So, I mean, he has thrown some touchdowns, which is nice, but not a ton. So what's going to need to happen, I think, for the Carolina Panthers to stay in this game is Rico Dowdle's going to have to be very good. And, if they decide to mix in Chuba Hubbard, Mazel Tov, I think their running game is going to have to keep them in the game. The possibility is there for Young to have a big game, but they usually don't put him in that position. The one thing that does favor him in that game is the 49ers don't have a lot of sacks and they don't have a lot of turnovers on defense. It's just a team without their stars that just kind of like bends and doesn't break. So, it could very well be a very close game. I'd be tempted to take the Panthers and the points, but in this game, I'm going to go head-to-head. I'm going to go with San Francisco.
Absolutely. We have another question from Epic, and a what the heck PPR question. Mac Hollins or Parker Washington PPR, unless we have a deep pool. I have a deep pool here, so I would love to see what you got here for us today, Dave.
Yeah, deep poll. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared for a deep poll. I mean, that's just guess my waiver wire. Yeah, I'm not that smart. So with the question as it is in front of me, I know you've got one, which is cool. That's good. You're better prepared than I am. Mac Hollins or Parker Washington? Wow. Mac Hollins sounds like a good idea, but and you know what? If you want to what the heck, then go with Hollins. I'm going to take Parker Washington out of the two guys. I think the role is more solid for Parker Washington. But if it's what the heck, then go with Mac Hollins.
Yeah, so I'm just double checking one thing, but I don't like either, honestly, especially if Britton Strange does return today. I think that's what's going to hurt Parker Washington more than it helps, being the main slot guy there. And then one of my deep pools, I wrote about him last week, and my slot versus wide is Jalen Coker. Again, going to Bryce Young. I know you don't love him though, but the Niners are allowing a league high almost 19 points a game out of the slot, and they allow like the fourth fewest rate to receivers catching passes out wide. And since Coker has returned from his injury, he's playing 64% of his snaps from the slot. It's like 50% of his fantasy output total. Now, last week, typically Michael Wilson was playing more slot, but he's more out wide with Marvin Harrison out. But Trey McBride was the slot guy for Arizona. He went off. He went nuclear, 10 for 115 and a touchdown. Not comparing him there, but last week, Coker did catch a season-high 52 yards, and which was a tough matchup against the slot receivers. And so I think a lot of people really like Jalen Coker, and I think we might be seeing his post-hype breakout. I don't really like Xavier Leggett as much. He's just not consistent. And so I know Tet went off last week. It's a good matchup for him as well, but I think Coker has a good game. So I think in a deep pool, for me, I really like him, or even Cedric Tillman this week. If you can get one of those two, I prefer both of those guys over those two you have here listed here, Epic.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I'm fine with Coker as a deep pull. I'm not a big fan of Coker, but I certainly am open to the possibility that you're right. He certainly could get on the board. He's certainly talented enough to. The thing that worries me about the Panthers is they don't always throw the ball a lot. But I do actually, since you mentioned the Cardinals, a guy I was looking at in a few leagues, and I ended up going with Cedric Tillman. But, and he's out there in a lot of leagues. But a guy I would look at also in the Jacksonville game would be Greg Dortch on the Arizona side. He got 6 targets and 6 receptions, and he had 66 yards and a touchdown or something like that. It was all 6s. And that took 57 attempts. I don't expect a huge game out of Greg Dortch, but certainly if you're what the heck, he could certainly give you a big play. And he's also a returner. So, what the heck, he could also take one to the house returning a kick. So, if we're looking at guys like this, probably Parker Washington is the name, but I agree with Jeff. I think there's plenty of other potentials out there, including Mac Hollins, Jalen Coker, Greg Dortch, Cedric Tillman. I would consider all of those guys right up there. So yeah, if you got to shoot for the moon, those are some names.
Yeah, another one here I'll probably get made fun of, and that's okay. But Mitchell for the Jets. Tyrod's there. The guy can get separation. There is no doubt about it. He is fast. He can get off the line, but will he catch passes is a problem.
Yeah. Let me put it this way. I love A.D. Mitchell. I just wish he would hang on to the football. I mean, he looked terrible last week. I mean,
But
Justin,
he gets open though. That's the he didn't catch it, but
the problem, and I'm not making fun of you. I 100% am right there with you. The problem is that he doesn't catch the football. He had like 2 or 3 balls that went right through his hands. So if he gets that solved, absolutely, A.D. Mitchell could easily put up 100 yards in that offense with Tyrod Taylor throwing on the ball. So
the Ravens are giving up some points to receivers too. So it's a good matchup. So that's just another deep pull there. We're looking at 80. I know Epic just said no Tillman or Dortch, but Coker is though. So I wonder if Mitchell's available in his league. But so
that's another point for you. So no, I'm not making fun of A.D. Mitchell. I just want him to catch the damn football, man. I'd add him everywhere. He does get open. He is fast as hell, but man, hang on to the ball. I mean, Justin Fields hit him in the hands like 3 times and he dropped the ball.
Yeah. No, he did. There was – you can't really put that on Justin Fields, unfortunately. Many times you can, but in that game, that wasn't the case. So, Epic, well, good luck to you trying to find your what the heck flex. Hope it works out. We'll love to hear how it works out for you in week 13. Dave, well, we're going to end this show here in a few moments. Do you have any last thoughts? Deep pools, deep plays before we sign off?
Yep. No, we've got some classics in all the windows, potential classics with, the Colts and the Chiefs in the morning. There should be some other entertaining games, the Packers and the Vikings. And then there's some blowouts, but the late window, it's fewer games, but they absolutely 100% should be more entertaining. You've got Philly and Dallas, you've got Atlanta and New Orleans, Jacksonville, Arizona could be an entertaining game. Those are all tough call games for me. I don't want to say the Cleveland Raiders game is going to be entertaining, but it certainly is a tough call for me. And then tonight, Tampa Bay and the Rams should be a lot of fun, right? And then tomorrow night we got the Niners and Carolina. So looks like a good weekend of football. I don't think Scott Hansen will have too much to do today in the witching hour in the morning. It should be an entertaining late window, and the night game should be good. So let's go watch some football.
Let's do it. Here we go. Well, I got you a question here. This is in our Razzball league. My quarterback play is just atrocious right now. Nix is on a bye and Dart is out, unfortunately. With that being said, I don't have many options, unfortunately.
Really?
The quarterback spot. To start, the waiver wire. Bryce Young, Jordan Love, Tyler Shuck, Geno Smith, and Jameis. I think I'm leaning Jameis.
Yeah, I probably would too. I just, out of all the guys you mentioned, I think he's probably the one that's going to throw the most. There is the possibility of a 400-yard, 5 interception game, but I don't think the Lions are that good in the passing game. It's going to be a case of where Jameis is probably going to have to throw because they're really tough to run on. So I think out of the guys you mentioned, it's surprising to hear Jordan Love is out there.
Yeah, I know. That's in the our second redraft league. But he's, like I said, he hasn't been playing very well, and his roster percentage is under 70% in sleeper. That's wild.
Yeah, well, if you're in a 1 quarterback league, I could see dropping him.
Well,
especially
who's out there?
The guys you have, Dart and Nix, those are guys I would roster over Jordan Love. Both of them. But the problem is, you're right. Neither of them are available. I didn't really do a good job going through my sleeper leagues this week, so I'm starting some unsavory characters in the Superflex spot. I have a league where I have a league. It might even be one of the Razzball leagues. I have a league where I had Nix and Justin Herbert. So I threw Justin Herbert back in the pile. He hasn't been doing much lately. I know he's like number 5 overall among quarterbacks, but man, that team is just an oddball team. So I can't remember who I picked up, but it was a warm body. So, actually it was a surprisingly, it might've been Brissett for the week. Yeah.
So, I've been writing him for a lot of my leagues, and he's been like a QB 4 or 5 since week 6.
I made the mistake of fading him last week, and that was just I went with Mariota over him last week, and that was just I one of these days I'll get it in my head not to pick a player from the Europe game.
Yeah, those are always brutal games, and I know the NFL loves to do that to spread awareness and get other countries involved. But those games are just been not very high scoring fantasy wise. Like I hate them. I just hate them.
I've made my feelings plain about those games with profanity involved on this very broadcast. So I don't think I need to go back there.
Well, I think Roger Goodell heard you loud and clear.
No, I think they'll have more international games next year. One of the ones that were entertaining were the ones in Mexico. They usually play in Mexico City. Mexico City's like 90,000 feet above sea level. So the ball travels, Jared Goff can throw the ball 150 yards in that atmosphere. So, let's go back to Mexico.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think that's everything for us today here at Razzball on the Week 12 Start Sit Show. Just want to remind everybody, you can get all our articles for free on Razzball.com on the NFL tab. For Davey Cruz and myself and Jeff, good luck to y'all this week, and we'll see y'all Week 13.